people on the panel, so to speak. We have got Anji Hallewell. She is a self-mastery and performance coach and also the founder of Natural Genius. So that's Anji on board. Anji has spoken with us at the Up Your Game Southeast Asia tour and the conference, and she's also been an I&I speaker. And Anji has also spoken on some really, really interesting stages around the world, so she's a global speaker as well. We have also got Rohit Bassi for all the way from Dubai. So Rohit has also spoken at Up Your Game before, so he's also someone who's very familiar with the format and the plays. He has also been on the I&I stage, and then he has also been on TEDx. So that's Rohit. Rohit does executive presence, and he's extremely passionate about compassion. So that's Rohit Bassi from Dubai. And we have got Sari Marsden. She is a leadership and performance coach, but at the same time, she's a really, 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 really good fitness enthusiast as well. So you do fitness coaching as well, right, Sari?
Yes, fitness and leadership.
So she does. And Sari, I think you have been on a Up Your Game hosted event. I think you were at the Soul Conversation before. So you have seen somewhat what we do and how we do things, more or less. And you've got some really interesting insights. In fact, I was talking to RT about a week or two ago, and your name popped up again about how wonderful you are with your conversations and how much each time there's someone who has a conversation with you, there's so much of learnings that happen through that. So really looking forward to your inputs today as well. No pressure, but we'll see how that goes. All right, we're going to give you guys some time to introduce yourselves. Anji, let's start with you. You guys have 2 minutes.
Okay, sure. Well, what else can I add to what you already said? Well, I am a coach in self-mastery for professional success, because I believe that the buck stops with us when it comes to how far we excel in life. And I've always been fascinated around the topic. So I stepped out 4 years to do that and have been speaking and coaching people all around the world for them to achieve things that they just couldn't achieve by themselves. I've spoken at Up Your Game, I've spoken at business conferences, travel conferences, all different kind of places, really just trying to get the message out there for people to start to shift the focus internally so they can start to experience a different level of success, which is also mixed with well-being as well, out there in the world. So that's me.
Awesome. So that's Anji. Rohit, 2 minutes for introducing yourself, buddy.
Oh, wow. 2 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
You always put me under pressure, don't you?
Love to, buddy. Executive presence.
I'm born and brought up in the UK. Heritage is Indian, although I am more of a global citizen now that I live in Dubai. And my partner is from Vietnam. I train, I coach, and I'm a conference speaker, global conference speaker. My focus tends to be on executive presence. And when you look at that, it's about conscious communication. What are you doing about your communication in given scenarios, be it in life, your work, or in your relationships? How are you dealing with that? And that allows you to uplift your presence. It actually helps you uplift in the way you see things. And one of the core elements, which for me has been extremely helpful, is compassion. And that's the foundation, you could say, that I work with and work upon to serve other people around me in the community. Wonderful. And by the way, one thing, on I&I, I'm not a speaker yet. I'm in the process of being there, but not exactly there. So you got that slightly wrong in the beginning.
I'm forward looking, buddy.
You saw the future. Optimistic, don't you know?
I'm optimistic and I see the future. No, I couldn't say that you have been on TEDx without saying that you would want to be on I&I first. So that's allegiance, man. All right. Sari, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Sari Marsden. I'm Indonesian. I've been living in Singapore for 12 years now. I'm married to a British guy. We don't have children, but we wrote a book together. It's called Fit to Lead. So that's the story of our marriage. I work in both community. One is fitness community, and then the other one is leadership community. So in the fitness community, what I observe is that a lot of what gets in the way from them achieving what they want is that there's mental and emotional states, that gets in the way. But in the leadership community, what I realize is that it's the lack of physical states that needs to be brought into the game. So my passion is really bridging the two, fitness and leadership. How is it in the leadership community can learn something about the body, bring in the role of the body as equal as mental and emotional states. And then in the fitness community, I like to encourage people to move beyond the physical activity benefits. So I'm all about the alignment, physical, mental, and emotional. And I'm looking forward to create more conversations with you guys here.
Fantastic. So let's dive straight in. I think we all know what the world is facing right now. This virus called COVID. It has taken the world by storm in a not so positive way. It has changed the landscape overnight. The way we work, the way we function, the way we socialize, the way we interact, our priorities have all changed just overnight, and we have been thrown into this darkest hour, the deepest end of the ocean. And let me just share a personal experience, right? I've always been a conventional face-to-face trainer or speaker. I have always been pretty resistant towards going virtual or online. I've been a conservative believer that learning must happen face-to-face. So because that's where the best outcomes is. However, right now we are put into a situation where we don't have an option. If we want to continue the business, we want to continue earning our revenues and earning our incomes, the only way is to go online, right? So every other door has literally been shut. So I think I'm one example, but if you look at any trade, any sector, any industry, and I don't think it's any different. I guess the challenges that people are facing is from multiple fronts and corners. So there's a lot of uncertainty because we don't know how this is going to evolve further. There's a lot of fear because every time there's an unknown, people feel scared, and that fear translates and manifests itself in different ways and different means. And definitely there's also a lot of changes happening. The landscapes are changing, our modalities are changing, approaches are changing, business models are changing, communication modes are changing. A lot of changes are happening. So suddenly, in a short span of time, we have found ourselves in this twirl of massive and rapid disruption that technology has not been able to bring to us in the last 5 years. So what would be your take on that? Let's start with Sari. Let's start with you first.
Mute myself. I'll unmute myself. All right. Okay. It is indeed very odd timing, extraordinary, and in my experience, definitely it's not the truth for the world, but in my experience, working with the people on professional level and also personal level, one remain truth is it affects all of us. Like no one in the world are not affected by it. So everyone affected by it. In terms of emotional states, I just had this conversation around navigating mood and emotions in the stressful time. What I find it interesting is that people are divided into two spectrums. One is those who are anxious about it, fear, anger. And then on the other spectrum, what I also realized, what I noticed, there's a sense of groundedness as well. There's a sense of groundedness, there's a sense of excitement, there's a sense of curiosity. So my takeaway from the emotional states at this moment, it feels like it's a mix of emotions. If we are living in Singapore, I can call it like a rojak of emotions, or like a bouquet of emotions. But collectively, we know there's a change. And for me personally, what comes to me is that it challenged me to challenge my ground. it's not, it challenged me. What is it, the ground that I'm standing at this moment? What is my point purpose? And also, what is my choice of attitude? That becomes transparent for me as well, to look at, yep, okay, things happening, and this is the reality. So for me, I need to have a little bit of acceptance to align myself with reality, and then also self-consciousness to keep on choosing the attitude that will help me grow and shift. And also at the same time, to be okay, to be a human being. Like, I'm not going to be the ball of positivity all the time, right? But, but for me, the most important thing is to be okay when I'm not okay, and to find out support that I need, and then get on with it, working with myself and working with my community.
Nice. So self-awareness is, I guess, a starting point to accepting, right, where we are at and whatever is going to come to us, and then that depends on how our attitude and how we are going to approach this with, right? Excellent.
Yes, I rely on 1, acceptance. Number 2, my choice of attitude.
Nice. So A and A, acceptance, then attitude, right? Great. Anji,
Okay.
yeah, that's nice. Anji, tell us, how does one remain calm in a situation like this?
Yes, it's become more challenging because there's so much more noise going on out there in the world. You've only got to turn on any TV station, open any newspaper, listen to any, read any social media feed, and there's just a lot of noise. So right now, people that are not used to that amount of noise coming through from all these different channels are understandably feeling extraordinarily overwhelmed by it all. For somebody that I would consider myself a pretty calm, grounded person, and even then, there are moments where it's just like, oh my God, if I hear that C word one more time, I'm going to throw this phone out of the window. It can just become COVID, not calm. The only C word I want to be hearing right now is about calmness, because it is the calmness and the groundedness that we need right now as our anchor. The whole world, it's been like a ripple effect that we've been watching across the globe, from Asia over to Europe, over to the US. They've all been kind of catching up with where it all started. And you can just see that the whole world is in reaction. It's in reaction mode. And some people are starting to come out of that reaction and starting to look at some of the positive things they can now do. And there's some really nice stuff that's buzzing around. There's a nice community kindness that's going on. There's some nice initiatives that people are gifting their knowledge. There's a lot of kindness that is now happening. But we still got a lot of people that are in that reactive state, and that's okay, because we're all at different levels. But for me, calmness is the key to it all. To remain grounded and to bring yourself out of that reaction, the calmness has to be there. You cannot be calm and in a reactive state at the same time. It's a choice between one and the other. And when you're in that mode where you are feeling calm, you are feeling grounded. I like to break calm down into an acronym because it's nice and easy to remember. But all of the benefits of just being grounded and just being calm have been, I think they're underestimated. And they've been shown by research that to think positively, to remain calm, it boosts our immune system. But it doesn't just boost your immune system, it also allows you to think more clearly. And if there's one thing that we all need right now, is a clear train of thought. So the C stands for creativity, because particularly not just for business owners, for freelancers, for coaches, for trainers who have their own practices, but also professionals who are employed, they've got to start showing up differently and get a little bit more creative about perhaps how they're managing their teams, how they are showing up in their leadership roles, or even in their own sort of self-leadership capability, just showing up a little bit differently. The A in calm stands for accelerate, because when you are able to think clearly and more creatively in the way that you're showing up, your solutions, then it accelerates you because you're not stuck in all the drama that life can throw at us. And the L in calm stands for listen. We can listen more deeply. We can listen more deeply to others, for sure, but actually we can listen more deeply to ourselves. And right now, with all of the external noise going on, we actually need to take a little pause from that and start checking in with what is going on here first before we start interacting with that external world. And then the M really just pulls that all together, because once you're able to, I guess, have those components working in your favor, then that's mastery. That's self-mastery. It's everything that I advocate.
Nice. So M is mastery, right?
Yeah.
Fabulous. So four things you need to do to become. You need to get creative. You need to accelerate. You need to be able to listen deeply and take a pause from everything that's happening around us, and also mastery. Can you elaborate a bit more about mastery, Anji? What do we mean by mastery? So what do I need to master exactly?
Yeah, well, it's self-mastery, right? Masters of ourselves.
Okay.
So rather than the attention being external on what other people think, what the media is saying, all of the drama that is being created on WhatsApp groups and everything that's going on right now, it's being able to step away from that and to start to recognize, well, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what do I need to do to show up differently, to learn from, and I can emerge stronger from it. So it's about getting to grips with, I guess, the emotional component of how we are reacting and responding to what's happening right now. But I think there's an element of, how do you want to remember this period? Do you want to look back at it and say, oh my God, that was the worst time of my entire life, and it took me a really long time to rebuild myself? Or do you want to look back at it and say, actually, that was a time that was challenging, but I really felt like I grew as a person because I understood who I was within it all? So that to me is mastery, self-mastery.
Great, fantastic. Rohit, Anji touched on something that was really your domain, and I would agree with that observation too. It seems like suddenly everybody is doing something good, something positive, little acts of kindness here and there, which is great, because it really shows that when a need arises, human beings can start being more human, and they can start looking out for people around them, and I think that's fabulous. I think the more such stories you see, the more inspired you get to start believing more in humanity. We stop complaining sometimes, because in a natural situation, a normal situation, we're always saying about how selfish people are, how greedy people are, how self-obsessed people are, and in times like this, you're reminded that it's not true. I think there comes a point where people are able to look beyond themselves. And one of the reasons why I started a Be Inspired series as well, to feature these stories and bring them to as many people as possible. But what is it that makes people get into this mode of compassion when it comes to a time of crisis like this?
Now, 20th February, I started getting news from my clients. And I called up clients about work which needs to be done. And literally around 20th February, I started realizing things are not good. Because literally from the 20th February till the 23rd of February, all my business just wiped out. And if I was to tell you in terms of figures, it was revenues coming in Sing dollars is about 40K Sing dollars. For people who are listening in the UK, that's about 22K. And for people who understand USD, it's about 27K, completely wiped out. And the amazing thing about me at that time was that I didn't get flustered. I didn't get upset. I didn't get irritated, which is unusual for me because usually I get all over the place. And I think it's been over the years of the business which you're doing, of what we're doing, training, coaching, speaking. A lot of times you're in isolation. So the isolation you're already conditioned to be in that isolation. The only difference is when the so-called norm which we had, we were still allowed to go out to coffee shops and so forth, or meet up people. Now, Dubai is in a lockdown. For the next 2 weeks, it's going to be lockdown. The last 3 weeks, it had been partial lockdown where you could do a bit of movement, but we were requested to stay home. Like your PM said, circuit breakers become circuit breakers. But these next 2 weeks, it's going to be all quiet. And in this time, what I've noticed is from the 20th February onwards is, yes, there have been acts of that kindness, but at the same time, there's been a lot of people's behavior of survival has come out, where people are becoming narcissists, where their true identities are really showing, which is a great thing because it puts us back into the picture saying, do I really want to go down that road? While for other people, it's more towards that compassion, that kindness, that empathy. Now, it all depends from what my learning is, and what I've seen is how are you seeing things? Are you just seeing this as survival? Are you just seeing this as darkness? Are you just seeing this as terrible? Or are you looking at it from a different perspective where you're saying, there is a massive change which is happening on a universal level. Okay. And this universal level at which the change is happening, it is affecting every single individual. And in fact, it's looking at every single energy across this globe. That's literally what's happening. And those people are seeing as this situation as a time to reflect, a time to see how they can contribute, how they can serve, how they can help. They are seeing at what can they improve about themselves. We are on unfamiliar territory. I'm not going to even call it uncertainty. I'm going to call it unfamiliar territory for a simple reason. We've never experienced this. Well, our generations have never experienced it. Maybe something similar in the past, but for us, never experienced it. And so it's very unfamiliar territory. And in order to pass through that unfamiliar territory, we really need to be helping each other out, because no one knows what's going on. So I remember you spoke to me earlier on that to talk about smile. So when it look at from that perspective, the reason I came up with this was for a simple reason. I was getting calls, email, text, chat saying, I'm feeling really low, anxiety, what am I going to do? And I sat down, I said, what's the easiest way to communicate this? And so I said, okay, you need to learn how to smile. And they're like, have you gone crazy? This is not a time to be smiling. It's a time for surviving. And I'm looking at them saying, look, yes, I understand that we all want to survive. But as soon as we start thinking in that mentality of just surviving, we are now going into our lower emotions. Lower emotions mean that we're in fear, we're in angry, we're in anger, we're in greed, we're in just this heavy sinking emotion. And we need to lift ourselves up. And the only way we can do that is that lifting that up is through a compassion, that higher emotion being as a whole, that loving state.
So what does the smile stand for, very quickly?
So the smile standing for how do we do this is through that smile. So the S standing for serve and support. How are you going to serve and support yourself and the community around yourself? What is that little thing? I'm not talking about massive action. I'm talking about the small actions you can do on a day-to-day basis. Call someone up. Maybe someone needs some grocery deliveries, whatever's possible, putting in, just remembering the social distancing part of it and doing whatever you can do to help yourself and other people. So this is about serving and supporting. There's M standing for mesmerize. Mesmerize yourself with whatever's happening. So if you are sitting down, just observe nature around you. Take into the beauty of nature. Observe what are you doing yourself on a day-to-day basis. Are you just doing? Yeah, because As humans, we are called human beings, not human doings. So we should be in a state of being, but we're not really in a state of being. We're always about action, 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 action. Come on, let's just get back into a state of being. Yeah, so you've got your S and your M. The I is in spirit. Get inside yourself. Reflect what's happening. How are you going to raise your awareness? Raise your awareness. Be more conscious about what's happening around you and what you can do as the next step. The next is the L. So sorry, the I. Sorry, the L. The L being the living. We are from a very young age, and this is across the globe. Doesn't matter where you go, from the west to the east, you will see one thing is we have been focusing on being goal-orientated all the time, goal-orientated. Absolutely fine being goal-orientated. Yes, we may get applauses and we may get accolades because of that. How about now just living a life? You are now confined, at least in Dubai and many other countries, you are now confined in your four walls. How are you going to live your life? Because you really can't go and do things outside. Yes, you can possibly do things inside your four walls. But after a while, you start getting bored, irritated, and angry with that as well. So how are you going to just get into a state of just living your life, i.e. being a human being again? And finally, your energy. Where are you focusing your energy? So Anji brought up a very good point about all this news about COVID everywhere. Sari also talked about, these two parties where are full of fear and the other party is, okay, they're grounded. So which party are you going to be? Yes, it's going to be a pendulum effect where we're going to go from one side to the other, one side to the other. Slowly or later, the pendulum, you'll need to slow it down. You need to slow it down. And the only way you're going to slow it down is by focusing on energies which are going to uplift you. And that is going into that loving state. And the only way for me it's possible is start being self-compassionate towards yourself and be compassionate towards others.
Great. So thank you very much. So that's a nice acronym. So it's serve and support, mesmerize, inspire, living, and energy. So we all need to learn how to smile through the COVID period. Sounds a bit tough to do, but I think it's possible, right? So the question here is I think we have heard quite a bit of what needs to be done. So we need to come to acceptance. We need to have the right choice of attitude. That's what Sari said with us. Anji shared with us of the need for creativity, to accelerate, to listen deeply, to have self-mastery. You have shared a SMILE acronym. I'm going to get you guys to very quickly, if you could, share with viewers, like whoever is going to view this, if after watching this video, there's one thing that you suggest that they do right away, right? That will make a difference in how they're dealing with the whole situation. What's that one thing that they can do? And this could be something that has worked for you, you have tried, and that made a huge shift in how you started facing the situation. Or it could be something that you have seen other people or observe other people doing. What's that one thing that they can actually do right away, whether in the tangible world or whether emotionally, psychologically? What is it that they can do to be able to deal with this situation more effectively? Rohit, let's start with you. We'll walk backwards. You got 1 minute.
Okay, so literally, here's a point where we need clarity, and clarity is two parts of those people who are very much in the emotional side and the other parts who are very rational. For the people who are rational, they need to get into focus, and in order to get into focus, they need to do something which allows them to get into flow. And that could be something like literally as maybe drawing, if they are into art, do some art, do some photography, do something which allows them get into the flow. That could be exercising, which really helps. Movement always 100% helps. For those people who are of the less of the skeptics and more are emotionally focused, this is what they can literally do, is to get into clarity, is put their hand on their heart, close their eyes, and just count. Just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and do it as slow as possible. And you can do it as long as you want. What you start seeing is the jungle, the jumble, which is happening up over here, starts clearing out. And you can take the next action step you require, that small action, be it towards your health, be it towards your family, be it towards the finances.
Yeah, so it's getting past that chaos, getting past all that clutter, getting past, like what Angie said, noise, so that we can actually get a bit of clarity in our minds.
Absolutely.
Great, Rohit. Thank you so much. Angie, what's the one thing that you would suggest?
I think there just needs to be a detox. You know, we're never going to have this time again. Like, we have to see it as an opportunity. When in the world are we ever going to have a pause like this? So I think this time should be taken to actually just have a detox and get rid of some of the things that really are more toxic than helpful right now. Get out of those WhatsApp groups that are just creating more and more drama and noise and creating and installing fear and anxiety. Get out of social groups that are mirroring the same, and start focusing your attention on things that are creating optimism, hope, positivity. Because I think in this opportunity that we have right now of going on a detox, is that we can start to move away from the things that we recognize that might have been in our lives, maybe some of the people that were in our lives that actually don't serve us moving forward. And it just allows us to then say, okay, who do I now need to be today? Who do I want to show up as today? And ask yourself that question every single day to keep yourself on track. Because it's never going to be, I want to be fearful, I want to be anxious. You're never going to say those things, right? So we'll start focusing on what you want, not what you don't want, but you need a detox to be able to do that.
Great. In fact, you're right, because a lot of times we get so caught up in just doing things in the momentum that we don't really, it's like, you know, going on a shopping spree and just buying everything, and then you don't realize that half the things you don't really need, right? Panic buying, for example, right? Stock up on all this stuff, right? I'm kidding. But I think it's one of the things, like I think recently there's been a lot of these temporary relief funds in Singapore that applications for that has been happening. It's a government scheme, and one of the things that I think volunteers have been saying as they help all these people file their applications, some of them are white-collar folks earning good incomes and salaries, but yet they are right now in financial trouble, not because they don't have enough, but because they're just over-leveraged. So they have this fancy car, big houses, huge mortgages and loans to pay off, credit card debts, all kinds of things. And they just find that suddenly they never expected this to happen, but now that it has happened, they don't know how they're going to keep up with it. So, you know, we have all these excesses in our life, and this is time to really rethink and do a Mary Kendo on those excessiveness and see what is it that we really, really need to live with, and you can be contented with, right? And get away with all those excesses. That is the right opportunity to do that if one can afford to, of course.
Yes.
Sari,
and there's a program on Netflix called The Minimalist. People should watch that.
Okay.
That sums it up beautifully. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Sari, what's yours?
Move your body, move your life. The one thing that I know that works is that mood is contagious, and we can shift our mood by simply moving our body. So often what I ask to my client is that, what are you noticing in your body? And as soon as they're noticing what's the physical sensation that's happening in their body, as they said, as they're anxious, it's much easier for them to shift the posture. You know, lifting up the chest, you know, just embracing the long breath might help. But what I also noticed, there are two kinds of mood that I encourage my clients to look and explore. One is curiosity, and then number two is gratitude. So what kind of physical exercise, what kind of physical movement that will help the clients or you to explore in the mood of curiosity, like, oh, what's going on here? It's kind of sense of lightness, right? It doesn't have to be that hard, but just to bring out a little bit of lightness. And then in the gratitude, let's say you are in the, very anxious, you let off your steam, and then after that, find a moment to be gratitude. And here's the thing that I'm struggling with the gratitude, right? I'm being me, okay? I'm always in the mood of ambition. What I find it doesn't work for me is that when I look at gratitude as a list of to do, something that I need to do. Okay, 5 gratitude for you to do. I find it what works for me is that to find one and I go deep with it. just one, and I go deep with it. So for example, I'm very gratitude of my friend who, she is so weird, but she's able to sit with me, no judging, no saying any word, and I'm just crying. And I asked her, do you understand what I'm facing? Yes, I do understand. So, so in that moment like that, I feel like, oh my God, I don't have to write a list of gratitude of how many friends do I have. When I realize if I just have one thing in the world, but I go deep with it, how I'm grateful for it, I think that works as well. But yeah, go find strength training, go find yoga, go find dance for the sake of boosting the mood, shifting the mood.
Great. So be curious, look for new things, start doing new things. We are all living in a moment of slowdown now anyways. We have
or the old things with the new eyes.
Sorry?
Or the old things with the new eyes.
Exactly. So I think there cannot be a better time to do those things, because
especially in the marriage situation, right? You're stuck with your wife or a husband at home. You need to look at your husband or wife with a new set of eyes.
Yes. I really hope that people don't feel stuck with their husbands and wives, because that'll be quite sad. Right? I think there's joy because now your spouses, a lot of the spouses are getting paid to be at home, and that's kind of cool. So they couldn't be better. I think this has been a lovely discussion with quite a bit of nuggets there so far. Let's just wrap this up. If you could have anything else that you want to add and share before we end, what will your parting words to the viewers be for this? Anji, let's start with you.
There's a phrase that I keep seeing it everywhere. My brain is now just focused on it. But the phrase is, "This too shall pass." So when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, just remember, one day this will not be the case. So this too shall pass.
Yeah, this too shall pass. Great. Rohit.
For me, it's gratitude. It's actually it comes to simple fact is gratitude. And I agree with Sari, is that it's not about a list of things. It's just that for that moment, for that day, what is that one thing you can truly, truly be grateful for? And for people call it strange when I say this, I'm actually thankful for this coronavirus for happening for a very simple reason, which Anji has brought up, is it's time to detox. It's time to get grounded, and time to see, what are you really doing? What are you really doing? So I'm thankful for, in many ways, for this virus, because at the end of the day, it's a virus. It wants to live as well. It doesn't want to kill anyone. Yeah. So we are saying we need to fight against it. We need to, beat it. But it doesn't really want to kill anyone. It's just we as a host are not strong enough to keep it. That's the biggest issue here. So be grateful for everything. Just have gratitude. That's the biggest thing.
Nice. Thank you so much, Rohit. There was this phrase you used to use, ho'onopono or something like that.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah. Is that something that you would like to talk about as well?
So ho'oponopono, from a very, very simple, it's a Hawaiian ancient way of making things right. What it literally means is, if you look at the basic foundation of it, it's saying thank you and I love you. Thank you for everything which is happening, and I love you for showing everything that is happening. And now I need to see what I need to improve. How do I grow? How do I expand myself? Again, lifting yourself into that loving state, not being in that survival state, that fearful state, that anger state, just lifting yourself. That's what Ho'oponopono in simple terms would mean.
Great. Sari.
Move one breath at a time, one day at a time. And if in your role you have to work with people for community, then work with people one person at a time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. I think one of the key things that I would like to add on is also that, I think whenever we are faced with difficult, challenging crisis situations, the word that usually comes to me is responsibility, right? We need to all be responsible for ourselves, the people around us, and our environments. Not to carry the responsibility as a burden, but to carry the responsibility with a sense of duty, right? I think simple things, compassion here does not mean you have to go and distribute meals to your neighbors. Compassion can simply be stay at home, don't share your droplets with other people, don't pass on the risk of infection, and just be safe so that other people around you can be safe as well. We are living in trying times where, and a lot of that is simply because we don't know a lot about this virus and we are not prepared for it yet. Like what Rohit said, we're not strong enough for it yet. We don't have the vaccines for it. We don't have the medications for it. We don't have the natural remedies for it, maybe. But we will get there eventually. We have survived for so many, we have survived through ages. I think we're going to survive through this as well. Really, really good sharing, guys. I'm going to crystallize this, put this out, and I would maybe invite you guys back again for a follow-up conversation or a discussion to see whether we can go deeper into some of these things like gratitude or movement, decluttering. I think these are really, really powerful concepts that we can go more in depth with into how exactly do we get into the science behind it, so that people have more specific tips. But you have given them great starting points there. And I think as the days go by, let's see how we can build and evolve into it. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time and effort here and all the sharings that you guys have given. It was absolutely lovely and a total privilege to have you guys on board.
Thanks, Rahul.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you, Sari. Thank you, Anji. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.